When you hear the words, "There are no coincidences," you might think they are just a poetic way of making sense of life. But I want you to truly understand that when God moves in your life, nothing is random. You are not sitting here listening to these words by mistake. The steps that brought you to this exact moment, the breaths you have taken, the decisions you made, and even the delays you thought were failures, they were all threads woven into a much larger design. This is why we call it a divine appointment. It is not you who decided to come here. You were brought here. Sometimes we think we are the ones in control. We set goals, we make plans, we choose what we think is best for us. But have you noticed how often life interrupts your plans? How often the door you thought would open stays locked? And yet, a path you never expected suddenly appears. That is the nature of divine guidance. It doesn't always lead you where you expected to go, but it will always lead you where you are meant to be. If you look back over your life, you will see moments where a single conversation changed your perspective. A single encounter altered the course of your journey. A single yes or no determined years of your future. And most of the time, you did not even realize how important those moments were until much later. That is the way God works, not with flashing lights or loud warnings, but with quiet, precise movements that you only recognize in hindsight. The truth is, life is filled with divine markers. You might pass them every day without noticing. They are in the people who cross your path, the words you read at just the right time, the opportunities that seem to arrive out of nowhere. And sometimes, they are in the losses and disappointments you thought would break you. You see, a divine appointment is not always comfortable. Sometimes God removes something from your life, not because you are unworthy of it, but because it is unworthy of you. Sometimes He delays your plans because He sees dangers you cannot see. What you call rejection might actually be His protection. Many people waste years thinking they have been abandoned, when in truth, they have been redirected. The place you are standing right now, this moment in history, this exact season of your life, it was chosen for you. You may not understand the reasons yet, but that does not mean there is no reason. You are not drifting. You are being guided. The thread of destiny is not fragile. It is unbreakable when it is held in God's hands. You can fight it, resist it, question it, but it will keep pulling you toward the purpose you were born for. Think about the people you have met in your life. Out of billions of souls on this planet, why did you meet those exact ones? Why did some stay for years, while others entered and left quickly? Because each one was part of the journey, some to teach you, some to test you, some to support you, and some to awaken you. Even those who hurt you were part of the plan. They were chapters that shaped your character. And if you look closely, you will see that without their role, you might never have developed the strength, patience, or wisdom you have now. Divine appointments are not always dressed in light. Sometimes they arrive in shadows, but even the shadows serve the light. You might be thinking, how do I know if something is a divine appointment? The answer is that deep inside, you feel it. There is a quiet recognition in your soul. It's like a bell ringing softly in the distance. When you meet someone, hear something, or experience something that is meant for you, you sense a shift inside, even if you can't explain it in words. Sometimes it feels like déjà vu, as if your soul has been here before. That is because your spirit recognizes what your mind has not yet understood. That this moment was written long before you reached it. The danger is that we can miss these appointments when we live too fast, too distracted, or too cynical. In our rush to control life, we often ignore the signs. We dismiss the small encounters. We assume the stranger's kindness was nothing more than politeness, or that the challenge we face is just bad luck. But nothing in your life is wasted. Not the joy, not the pain, not the waiting. Every piece is connected. When you trust that, your perspective changes. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this trying to teach me? Where is this leading me? And in that shift, you begin to notice the divine fingerprints all over your life. A divine appointment does not always announce itself with clarity. Often, it begins in uncertainty. You may find yourself in a conversation that seems ordinary, yet later realize it contained the exact answer you were seeking. You may take a detour one day and meet someone who becomes essential to your future. Or you may experience a failure that forces you to explore a different path. One that turns out to be the real road to your destiny. God's plan is not linear. It is not a straight road from point A to point B. It is a path that curves, ascends, and even doubles back at times, because each turn shapes you into the person who can handle the destination when you arrive. Understand this. The appointment is not only about where you end up. It is about who you become along the way. God could place you in your destination instantly, but if you arrived unprepared, you would lose it just as quickly. This is why there are delays. This is why there are challenges. This is why certain doors open only when you are ready to walk through them. The journey is part of the preparation, and every divine appointment is a step toward that readiness. But here is the most beautiful part. Even your mistakes are woven into the plan. You cannot fall so far that you escape God's ability to guide you back. You cannot make a wrong turn so sharp that the map cannot be redrawn. If you have breath, you have another chance. And often, the very failures you regret become the foundation for your greatest wisdom. That is why divine appointments are not fragile. They are flexible. They bend with your choices, but never break from the purpose. Sometimes the appointment is with a person, sometimes with a place, and sometimes with a moment in time. You may not realize until later that this video, these words, this exact day, is an appointment for your soul. And before 13th August 2025, you will likely encounter more of them. Moments that will feel ordinary until their meaning unfolds. But the fact that you are hearing this now means you are already in one. The call is simply, do not dismiss it. Do not assume you have endless time. Every appointment has its season, and if you miss it, you may spend years waiting for the next one. Think of life as a river. You are on a boat, and the current is carrying you forward. Sometimes you try to row against it, thinking you know better than the flow. But the current is the hand of God, and when you surrender to it, you find that it leads you to places you could never have reached by your own strength. That is the essence of a divine appointment. It is not about forcing life to happen, but about recognizing when life is happening for you. It is about aligning yourself with the current instead of fighting it. We live in a world obsessed with control. We want to plan every detail, guarantee every outcome, predict every step. But the most powerful moments of your life will often come unplanned. They will not fit neatly into your schedule. They will not wait for your convenience. And if you are too busy clinging to your plan, you may miss the plan that God has for you. That is why humility is so important. The humility to admit that you do not see the whole picture, and the faith to trust that the one who does is guiding you with perfect precision. Even the smallest act of faith can lead to a divine appointment. A decision to take a different route home. A choice to speak to someone you would normally ignore. A moment of courage to say yes when everything in you wants to say no. These are the seeds. And when you plant them, they grow into encounters, opportunities, and turning points that can alter the course of your life. You will not always see the fruit immediately, but the seed is enough for the moment. God does the growing. You are here because you are meant to hear this before 13th August 2025. I cannot tell you what will happen on that day or before it. I do not speak to stir fear, but to awaken awareness. The date is a marker in your journey, a point by which certain choices will be set into motion. And perhaps this is the moment where you decide to open your eyes wider to pay closer attention to the whispers around you, to stop dismissing the gentle nudges in your heart. Because those nudges are not random. They are appointments. They are invitations from God to step into the path He has been preparing for you all along. And when the years pass and you look back, you will see it clearly. How this exact moment was not a coincidence, how the path was already written, and how every twist and turn was not chaos but choreography. You will see that you were never lost, only guided. You will understand that the divine appointment you thought was just another day was actually the day your life began to change. We have been taught to believe that life begins when certain conditions are met. When we have more money, when we have more time, when the right people come into our lives, when the fear disappears. But the truth is, life is not waiting for you in some distant tomorrow. It is happening now. The perfect time you have been waiting for does not exist, or perhaps it exists only in the moment you choose to act. And that moment, my friend, is always the present one. We often live as if time will slow down for us. We postpone our dreams, telling ourselves that we will pursue them, or one day. We silence the voice inside that urges us forward, convincing ourselves we will listen later. But later has a way of becoming never. Every delay is a quiet theft, and we don't notice what is being stolen until it is too late. The life you want is not hidden in the future. It is hidden in your willingness to act in the present. Think about this. Every achievement you admire in others began in a single moment of decision. Not in a perfect environment, not when they felt completely ready, not when all the pieces were in place, but in a single, imperfect moment where they chose to move. That is the power of now. It does not demand that you have everything figured out. It asks only that you take one step, because one step taken now is worth more than 100 steps you plan to take someday. There is a dangerous comfort in waiting. It feels safe because you do not have to risk failure yet. You do not have to face rejection. You do not have to test your courage. But the safety of waiting is an illusion, because while you are waiting, life is moving. Doors are closing. Opportunities are passing. Seasons are changing. You cannot step into the same river twice, because the water will never be the same again, and neither will you. God often places an open door before you, but it will not remain open forever. There is a window in which you are meant to step through it, and that window may be now. Sometimes we hesitate because we think the timing is wrong. But you see, the timing will always feel wrong to the mind that is ruled by fear. Fear will always find a reason why this is not the right moment. It will tell you to wait until you are more skilled, more confident, more certain. But the truth is, confidence does not come before action. It is built through action. You become ready by moving, not by waiting. This is why so many people look back with regret. Not because they tried and failed, but because they never tried at all. They let the clock run out on the chances they were given. They believed there would always be more time, more opportunities, more doors. And one day they woke up to find the door they ignored was gone, and the moment they postponed had passed them by forever. You must understand something. God's invitations are often time-sensitive. They are tied to seasons in your life. Just as there is a season to plant and a season to harvest, there is a season to act. You cannot plant in winter and expect the same result as planting in spring. Likewise, you cannot wait endlessly for courage and expect the same results as when you take a step in the season you are called to move. The moment you feel that pull inside, that stirring of the soul, is the moment you are meant to act. We tell ourselves that waiting will make things easier. But what if waiting makes them harder? What if the opportunity that feels challenging now will become impossible later because the circumstances will have changed? What if the person you are supposed to connect with will not be there if you delay? What if the very resources you need will vanish while you hesitate? Acting in the now is not just about boldness. It is about alignment. It is about recognizing that the pieces are here for you in this moment, even if they are not perfect, and that moving now unlocks the rest. You see, life is like a sequence of doors. Each door you step through reveals the next. But if you stand still, staring at the first door, you will never see what lies beyond it. That is why hesitation is so costly. You think you are protecting yourself from risk, but you are actually protecting yourself from growth. And in doing so, you are robbing yourself of the experiences, relationships, and lessons that are waiting for you beyond that threshold. The power of now is not about recklessness. It is not about rushing into every situation without thought. It is about recognizing the difference between fear and wisdom. Wisdom will tell you when to prepare, but fear will keep you preparing forever. Wisdom will say, you have enough to begin. But fear will always say, you're not ready. The challenge is to listen to the right voice. And often, the right voice is the quieter one. The one that nudges you gently but persistently, reminding you that the perfect time is the time you choose to begin. Before 13th of August 2025, there will be a moment, perhaps more than one, where you will feel this pull. It may be a chance to speak truth to someone. It may be a decision to walk away from what no longer serves you. It may be an opportunity to start something you have been dreaming about for years. And in that moment, you will have a choice to step forward in faith or to step back into the comfort of waiting. If you choose the latter, the moment may pass. But if you choose the former, even if the path ahead is unclear, you will have set something in motion that can change the rest of your life. The mind will always find reasons to delay. It will tell you that the risk is too high, the timing too uncertain, the outcome too unpredictable. But faith is not about knowing the outcome. It is about trusting the one who calls you to take the step. You do not need to see the whole staircase to climb the first step. You simply need to believe that the staircase is worth climbing. If you think back to the times you did act in the moment, you will realize those are the moments that shaped you most. They might not have all led to success, but they all led to growth. And growth is the real measure of progress. Sometimes the result you expect is not the one you get, but the person you become in the process is the true reward. That is why the now matters so much, because the now is where transformation happens. We have a tendency to idolize the future. We say things like, one day I will be happy, or one day I will be free, as if happiness and freedom are treasures buried in some far off land. But they are not. They are choices you can begin to make now. They are found in the decision to act, to forgive, to release, to create, to step forward. Not tomorrow, but today. Waiting feels safe, but safety is not the same as life. A seed that refuses to break its shell may feel safe, but it will never grow into the tree it was meant to be. In the same way, you may feel secure in your waiting, but you are keeping yourself from the very growth that will make you fully alive. The shell of comfort is meant to be broken. And when it is broken, yes, there is uncertainty. But there is also expansion, light, and possibility. The present moment is the only place where change can happen. The past is already written, and the future is only imagined. You can only act now. That is why every spiritual teaching, every wisdom tradition, brings the focus back to the present. Because the now is sacred. It is the meeting point between who you have been and who you are becoming. And if you miss it, you miss the most important opportunity life offers you. Before 13th August 2025, there will be moments that test your ability to live in the now. You will be tempted to delay decisions, to overthink, to wait until the stars align. But the truth is, the stars may already be aligned. You just haven't noticed because you are too busy waiting for a sign. The sign is the stirring in your spirit, the pull you feel when you think about taking the step. That is God saying, no. And when God says now, there is no better time. One day, you will look back at your life and realize it was not made of years, but of moments. And the moments that defined you were the ones you acted on, not the ones you postponed. So if you are waiting for permission, let this be it. If you are waiting for a perfect time, let this be the reminder that the perfect time is here. The future you desire begins with the step you take today. The power of now is that it transforms potential into reality, dreams into action, faith into movement. And the life you long for will not arrive by accident. It will arrive because you decided to live it now. In the modern world, noise has become the background of our existence. It is everywhere, in the conversations around us, in the constant hum of technology, in the endless stream of thoughts racing through our own minds. We have grown so accustomed to it that silence feels strange, almost uncomfortable, as if something is missing. But the truth is, it is in silence that the most important messages arrive. It is in silence that the voice of God becomes audible. When I say, silence is the language of God, I do not mean that He does not speak in other ways. God can speak through people, through events, through the unexpected turns in life. But there is something about silence that removes all the static, all the interference, so that what remains is pure, unfiltered truth. The challenge is that most people avoid silence because silence requires us to face ourselves. And for many, that is more intimidating than any noise. When you step into silence, you step into a mirror. Not the kind of mirror that shows your face, but the kind that reflects your soul. In that stillness, you begin to hear not only the whispers of God, but also the echoes of your own heart. The longings you have ignored, the fears you have buried, the truths you have denied. It is in silence that we can no longer hide from ourselves. And it is in this same space that God can begin to heal, guide, and transform us. We live in an age of constant distraction. Every moment of stillness is quickly filled with scrolling, with entertainment, with the endless chatter of other voices. But when was the last time you sat quietly, without music, without a screen, without anything to occupy you but the sound of your own breathing? It is in those moments that you begin to feel the presence that has always been there. God does not need to shout to be heard. He speaks in the space you create for Him. And if there is no space, the message cannot be received. This is why spiritual teachers across centuries and cultures have retreated into solitude. Not to escape the world forever, but to tune themselves to a different frequency, the frequency of the divine. You do not have to leave your life behind to find this. You simply have to make room for it. A few minutes each day, sitting quietly, breathing deeply, letting the noise settle like dust in water until the clarity appears. Silence is not empty. It is full of answers, full of guidance, full of peace. But it reveals its treasures only to those willing to be patient. At first, when you enter silence, you will hear only the loudness of your own mind. Thoughts will come like waves. What you need to do later, what someone said yesterday, what you should have done differently in the past. This is natural. The mind is like a river that has been flowing without pause, and when you try to stop it, it will resist. But if you stay, if you breathe and allow the thoughts to pass without chasing them, you will notice the river begins to calm. And beneath the surface, you will feel something steady and still. This is where God speaks. Before 13th August 2025, you will be faced with decisions that require more than logic. Logic alone can only take you so far. It can analyze options, but it cannot tell you which path aligns with your soul. That is the role of wisdom. And wisdom comes from listening, not to the noise of fear or the pressure of the world, but to the quiet voice within. To hear that voice, you must enter silence. Without it, you will mistake the loudest voice for the truest one, and that is a dangerous mistake. Consider how many times in your life you have ignored your inner knowing because it was quieter than the voices around you. How many times did you follow the advice of others, even when something inside you whispered, "This is not right for you"? How many times did you stay when you knew it was time to leave, or leave when you knew you should stay? That whisper was God speaking, but you could not hear clearly because you had not given it the space of silence to grow louder in your heart. Silence is not only about stopping external noise. It is about quieting the inner noise as well. The constant self-criticism, the endless replay of past mistakes, the anxious forecasting of the future. These mental patterns are like clouds that block the light. The light is still there, but you cannot feel its warmth until the clouds pass. Silence is the wind that clears them away. And when it does, something extraordinary happens. You begin to recognize God's presence in everything. You start to see how He has been guiding you all along, even in moments when you felt abandoned. You notice the synchronicities, the right words at the right time, the right person showing up when you most needed them, the way certain doors closed only so better ones could open. These signs were always there, but silence trains your perception to see them. The reason silence feels so healing is because it reconnects you to the source. We are spiritual beings in human form, and the world often convinces us we are only the latter. In silence, you remember that you are more than your body, more than your job, more than your possessions, more than your fears. You are a soul, and that soul is connected to God. When you touch that truth, even for a few moments, the noise of the world loses its power over you. Some people think silence is a luxury, something you can practice only if you have the time or the right environment. But silence is not a place you go to, it is a state you carry within you. You can be silent in the middle of a crowded street if your mind is still. You can be silent while the world is chaotic if your spirit is anchored. And the more you practice, the easier it becomes to access this inner silence at any time, especially when you need it most. Before 13th August 2025, you will need this skill. There may be a moment when the voices around you are shouting, urging you to choose a certain path, warning you of dangers, pushing you toward what feels safe but is not right. In that moment, if you have learned the language of silence, you will be able to step back, breathe, and listen to the quiet voice that says, "This is the way, walk in it." That voice will not compete for your attention. It will simply be there, waiting for you to listen. And when you do, you will feel a peace that defies explanation, because peace is the signature of God's voice. If you are wondering how to begin, start simply. 5 minutes a day, no phone, no music, no distractions. Sit, breathe, let the mind settle. Do not try to force silence. Allow it to come naturally. You may feel restless at first. That is normal. You are detoxing from years of noise. But over time, you will notice a shift. Thoughts will still come, but they will not control you. Emotions will still rise, but they will not overwhelm you. And in that space, you will hear the whisper. It may be guidance. It may be reassurance. It may simply be the felt sense that you are not alone. Silence is not the absence of communication. It is the purest form of it. Words are limited. They can be misunderstood, twisted, forgotten. But silence carries truth directly to the heart. It bypasses the mind's filters and defenses. This is why moments of true silence between people can feel more intimate than hours of conversation. In the same way, moments of true silence with God can feel more transformative than years of religious ritual. There will be times when God seems not to answer your prayers. You will ask for direction, for signs, for clarity, and you will hear nothing. In those moments, remember this: the silence itself is an answer. Sometimes it is not that God is absent, but that He is asking you to trust what He has already told you. Sometimes the silence is not a void, but a space for you to grow into the person who can handle the answer. And sometimes the silence is the answer, the reminder that His presence is enough, even without words. In a world that values constant activity, silence may seem unproductive. But some of the most important work you will ever do happens in stillness. It is in silence that the seed is planted, that the roots grow deep, that the foundation is laid. Without this hidden work, nothing you build in the outer world will last. Silence is where you align your actions with your purpose. Without it, you risk building a life that looks impressive on the outside, but is hollow within. So take the time, step away from the noise, sit in the quiet. And when the discomfort comes, when the urge to check your phone or distract yourself becomes strong, stay. On the other side of that discomfort is a depth you have never known, a clarity that will guide you, a peace that will protect you. And when the time comes to make the decisions that will shape your life before 13th August 2025, you will not be swayed by the noise of fear or the pressure of the crowd. You will act from a place of stillness, and in that stillness, you will know you are walking with God. Life has a way of showing us who we really are, and often it does so at the moments we least expect. We like to believe that we know ourselves, that we understand the depths of our character, that we are familiar with the strength of our spirit. But there is a truth you will only discover when life places a mirror before you. Not the kind of mirror that reflects your physical appearance, but one that reveals the state of your heart, your mind, and your soul. I call this the mirror of courage because when you look into it, you will be confronted with the question that every human being must face: am I living from fear, or am I living from faith? Courage is not the absence of fear. That is a misconception. If you felt no fear, you would not need courage. Courage exists precisely because fear exists. It is the decision to act despite the trembling in your hands, despite the uncertainty in your mind, despite the voice that tells you, you can't. When you look into the mirror of courage, you see the tension between those two forces, the pull of fear and the call of faith, and you must choose which will guide your steps. Life presents these mirrors in many forms. Sometimes they are disguised as challenges. The job you are afraid to leave, the dream you are afraid to start, the truth you are afraid to speak. Sometimes they come in the form of loss, the relationship that ends, the opportunity that slips away, the plan that unravels. And sometimes they arrive as moments of decision, when you stand at a crossroads and both paths seem uncertain. In all these moments, the mirror is there, reflecting back the truth of your inner posture. Are you shrinking, or are you stepping forward? The mirror of courage does not flatter. It will not tell you what you want to hear. It shows you your hesitation, your excuses, the stories you tell yourself to justify inaction. But it also shows you your potential, the strength you have yet to tap into, the resilience you do not realize is already within you, the faith that is quietly waiting to be awakened. And the longer you look, the more you realize that the person staring back at you is capable of far more than they have allowed themselves to believe. Before 13th August 2025, there will be moments in your life where this mirror will appear. You may not recognize it at first because it will not be labeled test of courage. It will simply feel like a challenge, a risk, a leap you are not sure you can take. And in that moment, fear will speak loudly. It will list every reason why you should stay where you are, why you should choose safety over growth. Fear is persuasive. It uses the voice of logic, but it is not truth. Fear says, what if you fail? Faith says, what if you succeed? Fear says, it's too dangerous. Faith says, it's worth the risk. The difference between those who live fully and those who merely exist is not that one group is braver than the other. It is that one group chooses to act despite their fear, while the other lets fear decide for them. You see, fear is not something you conquer once and for all. It will meet you at every new level of your life. The goal is not to eliminate fear, but to stop letting it be the one who holds the map. The mirror of courage asks you to take the map back into your own hands, even if your knees are shaking as you take the first step. I have met people who have built entire lives around avoiding this mirror. They keep themselves busy so they never have to sit with the discomfort of their own dreams. They fill their days with obligations that are expected of them, so they never have to face the risk of choosing what truly matters to them. They convince themselves that safety is the same as peace. But peace does not come from avoiding risk. It comes from knowing you are living in alignment with your deepest values, even if the road is uncertain. And so the mirror of courage is both a challenge and a gift. It is a challenge because it demands honesty. You cannot lie to yourself when you are looking directly into your own eyes. You can tell the world you are content. You can tell your friends you are fine. But when you look into that mirror, you know the truth. You know whether you have been playing small. You know whether you have been making decisions from a place of faith or from a place of fear. It is also a gift because it gives you the chance to change. When you see clearly where fear has been dictating your life, you have the opportunity to choose differently. This choice may not erase the fear, but it will change your relationship with it. You will begin to see fear not as a stop sign, but as a signal that something important is at stake. That the very thing you are afraid of might be the exact thing you need to move toward. Think about this. Some of the most important turning points in your life will happen when you are afraid. Not after the fear has vanished, but while it is still there, whispering all the reasons you should turn back. These are sacred moments because they reveal your true direction. If you act only when you feel ready, you will wait forever. But if you act when you are afraid and unsure, you will discover that courage is not about knowing you will succeed. It is about trusting that even if you fail, you will grow, you will learn, and you will rise again. The mirror of courage does not only appear in grand, dramatic moments. It shows up in the small, everyday choices. The decision to speak up in a meeting, the choice to set a boundary with someone you love, the moment you decide to forgive when it would be easier to stay angry. Every time you choose growth over comfort, you are standing before the mirror and saying, "I will not let fear be my ruler." These small acts of courage shape the larger narrative of your life. Before 13th August 2025, ask yourself, what would I do if I were not afraid? Write it down. And then ask yourself, what if I did it even though I am afraid? The first question reveals your desire. The second reveals your path. You may think that courage is for special people, for leaders, for heroes. But courage is simply a habit of saying yes to faith more often than you say yes to fear. And like any habit, it grows stronger the more you practice it. When you stand before the mirror of courage, remember this: it is not showing you a perfect version of yourself. It is showing you the truth of who you are right now and the potential of who you can become. Do not turn away from it because you do not like what you see. Look deeper. See the scars as proof of survival. See the eyes that have witnessed pain but are still open to beauty. See the heart that has been broken but still beats with hope. This is not weakness. This is the raw material of courage. The world often tells us to chase comfort, but comfort will never show you your real strength. Only the mirror of courage can do that. And the more you face it, the less power fear will have over you. Fear will still visit, but it will no longer control the narrative. You will hear its voice, but you will recognize it for what it is: a shadow trying to block the light. And you will remember that shadows cannot exist without light. So when the mirror comes, do not run. Stand still. Look into it. See the fear. See the faith. And then choose the faith, even if it feels small, even if it feels fragile. Because faith, once chosen, grows stronger with every step you take. And as it grows, you will realize that courage was never about being fearless. It was about being faithful. And when you look back after 13th of August 2025, you may find that the most defining moments of your life were not the ones where you felt certain, but the ones where you were trembling and still moved forward. That is the reflection the mirror of courage will give you. And it will be the reflection you are proud to see. Every blessing is preceded by a test. It is the law of the journey, the unwritten rhythm of life that no one escapes. Yet so often, when the test arrives, we mistake it for a punishment, for a sign that perhaps we have taken a wrong turn. We see the weight of the challenge and assume it is there to crush us, when in truth it is there to shape us. The test is the furnace, and you, my friend, are the gold that will be refined in its fire. God does not send blessings to those who have not been prepared to hold them, because blessings unearned become burdens, and burdens uncarried become regret. Before the moment of abundance, there is always the moment of scarcity. Before the open sky, there is always the tunnel. Before the sunrise, there is always the night. And so the test comes quietly. It will not arrive with a sign in the clouds or a voice from the heavens saying, "Prepare yourself." This is the one that changes everything. It will come dressed in the clothes of ordinary life. A conflict with a friend, a loss of opportunity, an unexpected delay, a heartbreak, a disappointment so deep you feel your chest grow heavy when you think of it. And because it looks so ordinary, so unremarkable in the grand design of things, you may not even notice it at first. But every test is a teacher, and every teacher repeats the lesson until the student understands. There is something beautiful about this design. God could have chosen to bless you instantly, without the road, without the struggle. But a blessing without the road is like a seed without the soil. It has no roots, no anchor, nothing to keep it from being swept away by the first wind that comes. So the test gives you roots. It forces you to dig deep into yourself, to draw strength from wells you did not know existed. It strips away the parts of you that cannot travel with you into the next season of your life. The impatience, the doubt, the pride, the tendency to run when things become heavy. These cannot survive in the fire, and so the fire comes. You may wonder why this is necessary, why pain so often stands guard before the door of joy. And the answer is simple, because it teaches you value. You will not hold lightly the thing you bled to gain. You will not waste what you work to earn. You will not take for granted the gift that cost you sleepless nights and silent tears. The test teaches gratitude, and gratitude is what keeps the blessing alive. Without gratitude, even the greatest gift becomes invisible to us. When the test arrives, you have a choice. You can resent it, fight against it, and ask endlessly, "Why me?" Or you can meet it with a quiet resolve and whisper instead, "What is this here to teach me?" One question locks the door, the other opens it. The test is not here to stop you, it is here to see if you are ready to keep going. If you run from it, it will wait for you at the next corner, in the next chapter, in the next year. But if you face it, if you step into it with your whole being, you will pass through, and on the other side, you will find not only the blessing, but a new version of yourself. One you could not have become without the trial. Do not think the test is random. It has been tailored for you, for your unique weaknesses and strengths. It knows where you hesitate, where you falter, where you second guess yourself, and it will press there, not to break you, but to strengthen the very places that once felt fragile. The potter shapes the clay by pressing, by stretching, by turning it in his hands. In the same way, the test shapes you into a vessel capable of holding the blessing that is coming. Some people fail the test not because they lack strength, but because they expect it to be easy. They believe the blessing will fall into their lap, untouched by sweat or sacrifice. But this is not the way of divine gifts. Peace is for the moments of rest. Growth is for the moments of resistance. The test is the resistance. It is the weight you must lift to become stronger. It is the climb that burns your legs so that you can stand taller. So when it arrives, take a breath. Do not curse it. Do not hide from it. Meet it as you would meet a teacher you respect. Even if you do not yet understand the lesson, hold your head steady in the storm. Remember that every strong oak was once a seed that pushed against the weight of the earth until it broke through to the sun. You are no different. The weight is not your enemy, it is your proving ground. And when you pass through, when you see the blessing at last, it will not just be the thing you prayed for. It will be the proof that you are capable, that you endured, that you held the line when it would have been easier to let go. That is why the blessing tastes sweeter after the test, because it carries with it the memory of the fight. It carries the echo of the moments you almost gave up but didn't. So remember this, if you are in the middle of the trial, you are closer to the blessing than you think. Do not walk away now. The furnace is hot because the gold is almost ready. And when you emerge, you will not only have what you asked for, you will have become the person capable of keeping it. That, my friend, is the true gift hidden in every test. There comes a moment on the journey when you must surrender. Not because you are weak, not because you are defeated, but because you have finally understood that the ocean is larger than the boat you have been trying to steer alone. You can row for years, fighting the current, exhausting yourself against the tide, clinging to the illusion that every inch of movement depends on your effort alone. But there is a deeper truth. The current was never your enemy. The current was the very force that could carry you where you were meant to go. If only you would stop resisting it. Surrender is not about giving up your will. It is about aligning it with something greater. It is the art of loosening your grip on the plan you made in your own limited vision so that you can receive the plan written by hands far wiser than yours. You have seen how exhausting it is to force what is not yet ready, to chase what is running from you, to try to open a door that is not your door. The more tightly you hold, the more life slips through your fingers. But when you open your hands, when you allow yourself to let go, you discover that you were never empty. You were simply making space for what was always meant for you. The mind resists this truth because it craves control. It tells you that without your constant pushing, the world will forget you. The opportunities will vanish, the blessing will bypass you. And so you tighten your grip, you fight harder. You live in a state of tension that feels like living, but is really only surviving. Yet the universe moves in rhythm, not in panic. The tree does not strain to grow, it simply opens itself to the rain, the sun, the wind. And somehow, in its quiet acceptance, it reaches heights you could never imagine. To surrender is to trust that you are already in the hands of something that knows the way, even when you cannot see the road. It is to believe that detours are not delays, that closed doors are not rejections, but redirections. It is to know that the moment you stop trying to control the ocean, you begin to feel its true power beneath you. That is when life shifts, when you no longer see obstacles as enemies, but as waves designed to lift you higher. And here is the paradox. When you surrender, you do not lose strength, you gain it. The energy you once spent on holding on is now free to move through you, to guide you, to open doors you could not have pried open with your own hands. You stop wasting your power on resistance and start channeling it into flow. And in that flow, life begins to move toward you. People arrive, opportunities appear, blessings you once chased now seem to find you without effort. Surrender is not a single act, it is a practice. Every day, life will ask you again, will you trust me? Will you allow me to lead you into the unknown without demanding to see every step first? And every day, you must answer, not with words, but with the quiet loosening of your heart's grip. Because surrender is felt, not spoken. It is the deep breath in the middle of uncertainty. It is the calm in the center of the storm.